The desperate bargain sun was harsh on the dusty red sky. Wind howled across the empty plains of Terrace 5, a quiet farming colony where life moved slow, and strangers were never welcome. Cold Rainer, a tall, quiet human farmer, stood at the edge of his crops. His boots were heavy with dust. He wiped sweat from his brow and turned toward the old house he called home. He froze. There, just beyond the gate, stood a figure barefoot, shaking, wrapped in a torn blanket. She was not human. Her gray skin was cracked and dry. Her long white hair was tangled with dust and thorns. Her arms held a small child so thin he looked like he hadn't eaten in days. Cole narrowed his eyes. "You're not from here." The woman didn't move. Her voice cracked, barely a whisper. "My name is Saya. Please, my children are hungry." She lowered her head and knelt in the dirt, still holding the child. Behind her, another child peeked out, older, silent, frightened. A little girl with large, glowing blue eyes. "I'll work your fields," Saya said. "I'll clean your home. She stopped, her lips trembling. "I'll warm your bed. Just feed my children." Cole felt a punch in his chest. The way she said it wasn't shameful. It was broken. She wasn't begging for herself. She was bargaining with her own dignity, just to keep her babies alive. He looked at the child in her arms. The boy's eyes were half closed, too weak to cry, just breathing. Cole had seen things during the wars. He had fought. He had bled, but nothing ever tore at him like this. He opened the gate. "Come in," he said. The townspeople of Hollow Bend didn't take kindly to aliens, especially not starving ones. They called them the Gray Rats, said they only brought disease and trouble. Most of them were either locked in refugee camps or disappeared after the war. But Cole didn't care what they said. He brought Saya and her children into his home. Fed them warm stew from his pot, gave them clean clothes, old but soft, let them sleep in his guest room. And he didn't ask her to warm his bed. Not once. That night, Saya stood outside on the porch, arms crossed, watching the stars. Her children slept peacefully for the first time in many nights. Cole joined her with 2 cups of hot water. He handed her one. She took it with both hands. "You didn't have to help us," she said softly. "I did," Cole replied. "You needed it." She looked down. "Others didn't." He shrugged. "I'm not like others." The next morning, Saya was already outside helping in the fields. She worked with focus, silent, determined. Her hands were rough and strong. The older child, Nolly, held clean tools. The little boy, Kieran, was still recovering. As the sun rose higher, Cole returned from the town with supplies. At the general store, people had whispered behind his back, "You took one of them in. She'll bring others." "He's gone soft." Cole didn't care. But what he didn't know was that someone else had seen Saya. And now, that information was traveling fast. Off world. That evening, Cole found Saya sitting under the stars. Again. "Why my farm?" he asked. She hesitated. Then, quietly, she said, "Because your farm was marked as safe. In an old refugee map passed between slaves." The others told stories. That a human here once refused to shoot a captive. That maybe you were still human. Cole was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I don't remember being that man, but I'll try to be him now." As Saya slept, her hand twitched slightly under her skin. Faint glowing lines pulsed like energy veins. She didn't know it yet, but those lines would change everything, because Saya was not just a mother. She was the last of something powerful. Something the humans once feared. The cold stairs of the colonnade. Next morning, Saya walked into the town of Hollow Bend for the first time. She held her daughter Nolly's hand tightly. Her son, Kieran, was wrapped in a warm blanket on her back. His small hands gripped her shoulders. He was still weak, but better than before. She kept her head low. The humans stared. Men leaned against wooden posts. Women stopped pushing their carts. Children pointed and whispered. No one smiled. Only cold stares and silence. Cold Rainer walked beside her, carrying a small list of supplies. He led the way to the general store. Inside, the storekeeper, Mr. Krem, raised an eyebrow when he saw them. "You bringing one of them in here?" he asked. Cole kept his voice calm. "She's with me." Mr. Krem muttered something under his breath, but didn't stop them. Saya walked slowly, eyes scanning the shelves. So much food, so many things. It felt like a dream. Nolly tugged her hand. "Mama, look, fruit." Saya gave her a weak smile. "Don't touch it, baby." But Cole picked up the fruit and handed it to Nolly. "It's for you," he said kindly. Nolly beamed. Mr. Krem grunted. You gonna feed all her kind to colts. Smile faded. Just feeding the child. That's all. On their way out, an older woman named Marla, with a sharp voice, called from across the road. Careful, Colt. You let one in, and 10 more will crawl through the cracks. Colt didn't answer. Saya didn't lift her head, but Nolly turned her. Small voice brave. My mom's not a crawler. She's kind. Marla blinked, then turned away. Back at the farm, Saya sat on the porch. Her hands trembled as she peeled potatoes. You don't have to go to town again, Colt said. People around here forget too easily. Saya looked up. They don't forget. They choose not to remember. Remember what? She hesitated, then whispered. That my people helped build the colonies before the war, before they turned on us. Colt frowned. I thought your kind started it. Saya shook her head. No. We begged for peace. Your leaders wanted power. They wanted our energy, our science. They used lies to turn their people against us. Colt leaned on the doorframe, quiet. He didn't know what to believe anymore, but he knew what he saw now. And it wasn't a monster. It was a mother. That night, Saya sat by her son's bed. Kieran was sleeping peacefully. His skin was glowing softly. Under the blanket, tiny lines moving under his skin, like stars. She closed her eyes and whispered in her old language, Thank you for this breath, this moment, this life. Behind her, Colt watched from the doorway. He didn't understand her words, but he felt them. 3 days later, a dark ship entered the planet's orbit. It didn't land in town. It landed just outside the colony. A marked silent dot, but it sent a signal. One. That reached a hidden receiver deep underground. A message blinked across the screen. Target found. Initiate collection. Asterisk. The man with the black badge of the wind carried dust over the dry hills of Hollow Bend. At first, no one noticed the ship black, silent, hidden behind the ridgeline. But by the second day, people started asking questions. Who landed out by the old road? Didn't look like a merchant ship. Too quiet, too smooth. That's government metal. Colt was in the barn when the sound of boots hit the dry earth. He stepped out and saw a tall man standing at his gate. The man wore a long black coat with red markings on the shoulders. A metal badge glowed on his chest, half eagle, half skull. Collector. Colt narrowed his eyes. Can I help you? The man didn't smile. Name's Agent Rel, he said flatly. From Sector Command. I'm here on retrieval duty. Colt didn't move. We don't have anything for retrieval. Agent Rel looked past Colt, toward the house. I'm out here for livestock. Inside, Saya felt it. She had felt that badge before. She grabbed Kieran and Nolly, pulled them into the back room. The old fear returned hot and sharp in her chest. She whispered to Nolly, Stay quiet. Don't make a sound. Back outside, Rel slowly stepped forward. I know she's here, he said calmly. One of the last from the Curry bloodline, escaped 10 years ago from the Rylos facility. She was marked for reproduction duty. Colt clenched his jaw. This isn't a breeding station. It's a farm, and she's a mother. Rel shrugged. She's property. No, she's a person. Rel smiled coldly. That's not your choice to make. Rel handed Colt a small data pad. It showed Saya's old ID, her body scan, tagged, listed like an animal. Colt looked at the image, then threw the pad into the dirt. You have 48 hours, Rel said. Turn her over, or I come back with full force. Then he turned and walked away. His ship lifted off with a low hum and vanished into the hills. That night, Saya didn't eat. She sat in the corner, rocking Kieran, whispering old songs. Colt stood in the doorway. He's not taking you. Saya shook her head. You don't understand. If he takes me, he won't stop there. They'll take the kids. They'll take anyone who helped me. That's how they work. Colt sat beside her. Then we run. She looked at him, tired. Run where? Asterisk. The next morning, the townspeople gathered outside Colt's gate. They had heard. They had seen the ship. A man shouted, Turn her in. She's not worth your life. Marla yelled. You want to risk Hollow Bend for one alien? Colt stepped forward. She's not a threat. She's a mother. She's a fugitive. Someone cried. Saya stepped out, standing beside Colt. If you want me to go, I'll go, she said. But I will not let my children go hungry again. The people stared. Some turned their heads. Some looked away in shame. Only a few stayed silent. Asterisk. That night, Saya held her children close, The stars above looked cold. She whispered to Colt, "If he comes back, I want you to protect the children. Don't worry about me." Colt shook his head. "We protect each other." Far away, inside the black ship, Agent Rel tapped his screen. He watched the footage from his drone. He saw the glow in Saya's arms as she held her child. He smiled. She still has it. Then he ordered his team, "Next time, we bring restraints." A secret hidden in the field the next morning. The sky was gray. The wind felt colder than usual. Saya stood in the field early, before the sun rose, her fingers deep in the dirt. She was planting seeds, small and careful. Colt had asked her not to work today, but she couldn't sit still. She needed to feel useful. She needed to distract her mind from the threat of Agent Rel. Behind the barn, Nolly was playing with her little brother, Kieran. He was feeling better. His cheeks looked less pale now. He even laughed a little as he chased bugs in the grass. Then Nolly saw something strange poking out from the soil near the edge of the field. It looked like a smooth piece of glass, glowing faintly blue. She reached down and touched it. The ground trembled. A small click echoed from beneath the earth. "Nolly," Saya shouted from the field. "What are you doing?" Nolly jumped back. It was glowing. "Mama, I didn't break it." Saya rushed over and looked. Her heart stopped. It wasn't glass. It was Carry Tech. Ancient. Buried. Forgotten. Colt heard the commotion and came running. "What is it?" Saya whispered. "A memory stone." "A what?" She held it carefully, as if it were alive. "These stones stored knowledge. My people use them to teach, to heal, to grow energy." Colt stared at it. "That's incredible." Saya didn't smile. "It's dangerous." "Why?" "Because they killed my kind. To erase things like this." That night, inside the house, Saya placed the glowing stone on the table. And hummed softly. Then it lit up. A floating image appeared in the air, a young Kari child learning from a teacher, both glowing with peace and light. The vision shifted to blueprints, farms that grew food using light, machines that healed wounds instantly. Colt watched, amazed. "You had all this, and humans destroyed it." Saya nodded. "They feared it. They said our powers were unnatural. But all we wanted was to share." Kieran reached out and touched the image. The light shifted again. This time it showed his face, but older. Stronger. Standing in front of a crowd, leading. Saya gasped. "He's a memory holder." Colt looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means he carries the old knowledge in his blood. He will remember things we lost. He is Kari reborn." Meanwhile, deep in the hills, Agent Rel watched his monitor. His drone had captured the activation of the memory stone. He smiled darkly. "They found it." He sent a new order. "Prepare to strike. The child is now primary target." The next morning, Saya packed a small bag. "We have to leave," she told Colt. "They won't just come for me now. They'll come for Kieran." Colt stepped in her path. "No, we stay and fight. You saw what your people once did, what your son can become." "I saw what your people did too," she said softly. "They burned everything. They caged us." Colt nodded. "I know, but I'm not them." She looked into his eyes. And for the first time, she believed him. They spent the day hiding the memory stone and reinforcing the farm. Colt fixed the fences. Saya taught Nolly a simple energy pulse enough to knock someone back if needed. As the sun set, the wind rose, and from the hills, a low hum began. Agent Rel's ship descended black and heavy. This time, he didn't come alone. The storm that burnt the sky was dark. Thunder rolled across the red plains. A strange wind blew hard against the wooden walls of Colt's farmhouse. Dust spun like ghosts in the air. Saya stood by the window. Her eyes didn't blink. She knew the storm wasn't natural. The storm was coming with men. In the distance, a black ship landed just over the ridge. Red lights blinked across its surface. Its doors hissed open. 6 armored guards stepped out. Each one wore the red mark of Sector Command, the same as Agent Rel. Rel followed them, calm and smiling. His long coat flapped behind him like wings. "Let's collect what's ours," he said coldly. Inside the house, Nolly clutched her brother's hand. "Mama, I'm scared." Saya knelt before her, brushing the child's hair. "You are strong, little star. You were born under fire. You shine through darkness." Colt loaded his old rifle. "If they want to fight, they picked the wrong farm." Saya shook her head. "You don't understand. These men don't just fight. They destroy." Colt looked at her. "Then we show them something they've never seen before." As the guards approached the fence, they raised electric guns. Agent Rel shouted, "Bring me the woman. Bring me the boy. The rest." "Doesn't matter." The guard stepped forward. Suddenly, the ground under them lit up. A pulse exploded from the soil. Blue light shot upward, knocking the guards off their feet. Rel paused, surprised. "What was that?" Cole stepped out from behind the barn. "That's our welcome mat." One guard fired a shot. It hit the porch and sparked. Cole ducked behind a wall and returned fire. The shot hit a guard's helmet and knocked it loose. The man collapsed. But there were too many of them. Then Saya stepped outside. Her eyes glowed faintly. Blue light moved under her skin like flowing water. The wind around her stopped. Even the dust in the air froze for a second. Rel laughed. "So you still have your tricks. Not enough to stop us." Saya raised her hand. A ring of energy spun from her palm. Silent, focused eyes struck the nearest guard and sent him flying. Another ran at her with a stun stick. She turned and looked at him, and his weapon shattered in his hands. Inside the house, Nolly whispered to Kieran, "Mama's shining." Kieran looked toward the window. His own hands began to glow. Rel stepped forward now, angry. "You forget your place, Saya. You were built to serve." Saya walked slowly toward him. "I was born to live," she said, "and my children were born free." She raised both hands. Light poured from her skin, not in violence, but in peace. The ship behind Rel began to shake. Its power systems failed. Its engines died. Sank into the dirt, lights flickering. Cole stepped beside her. "We're done running." Rel reached for a hidden blaster butt before he could aim. Kieran stepped out of the house, his small hands glowing. He said one word in the old language, and the gun turned to dust. Rel froze. He looked at the child with something he had never shown before: fear. The remaining guards dropped their weapons. One of them whispered, "He's the starboard." They turned and ran. Rel stayed a moment longer. Then he backed away, shaking his head. "This isn't over." He turned and vanished into the ship's shadow. The storm began to fade. The wind calmed, and the silence returned. Saya fell to her knees. Tired, but not broken. Cole helped her up. "Are you all right?" She nodded. "It's not the end, but it's a beginning." He looked down at Kieran, whose eyes now glowed softly. "A very big beginning, asterisk." What the children remember. Sun rose over Hollow Bend, soft and golden after the long, violent night. Smoke drifted lazily from a broken fence where one of the guards' weapons had scorched the ground. The air smelled like dust and heat and something new: freedom, inside Colt's farmhouse. The morning was quiet. Saya sat beside the bed where Kieran slept. His little hands still glowed faintly under the blanket, the last spark of energy slowly fading after what he had done. Cole poured hot water into a cup and handed it to her. "He okay?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, just tired. Using light energy drains the body, but he's strong." She looked at the boy and smiled. "He carries more than power. He carries memory." Outside, Nolly was feeding the chickens, something she had learned from Colt. She walked proudly between the coops, her head held high. The neighbors were watching from a distance now, not with hate, but with confusion and maybe, just maybe, a little respect. Later that afternoon, Kieran woke up. He sat up slowly and looked around the room. Saya rushed to him, hugging him gently. "You scared me." Kieran blinked slowly. "Mama, I saw something." "What did you see?" His eyes glowed again. "I saw the old stars. I saw our people, flying ships made of glass and light. I saw a tree that sings. I saw you before." Saya held her breath. "Before?" Kieran nodded. "Before I was born." Cole listened from the doorway, his face still and quiet. "What do you mean, son?" Kieran looked at him and said softly, "You were there too, long ago, helping." Saya looked up at Cole. "I don't understand," Cole said. Kieran whispered, "Maybe you will, soon." That night, they sat around the table. A warm stew boiled on the stove. The house felt peaceful again. Cole told stories from his past. Saya shared a song from her home planet. Nolly danced with a ribbon Cole had found in an old box. Kieran laughed. Again, for the first time in years, Saya allowed herself to feel safe. The next day, something strange happened. The townspeople began to come closer. A young boy brought fresh eggs. An old woman named Marla, once cruel, left bread on the gate without saying a word. A small group of neighbors came to Colt's fence and spoke carefully. "We were wrong," one said. "We thought she was dangerous, But maybe we were the ones who were blind. Saya stood with cold as they listened. She didn't say much. She didn't trust easily, but her eyes were soft. Cold answered, "She's not dangerous. She's just a mother, and she's staying." No one argued. Days passed. Then a week, Kieran began to change. He could read entire pages without ever learning the letters. He could repair broken tools by touching them. He even helped Colt grow a patch of dying crops using only his hands. The soil turned rich where he walked. And the plants obeyed. One evening, Saya showed Colt something. She opened a hidden panel in the floor of the barn. Inside was another memory stone larger than the first. She placed it in Kieran's hands. It lit up with golden light. A new image appeared in the air, a vision of the Carey homeland, full of trees that reached the clouds, lakes that glowed, children flying on silver wings. Colt's mouth dropped open. "That's beautiful." Saya's voice was full of pain and love. "That was our world before it burned." Kieran touched the floating vision. "It's not gone, Mama. I remember how to rebuild it." She gasped. "You do?" "Yes, in my dreams." Colt leaned forward. "Could we bring it here? Could we start again with peace this time?" Kieran smiled. "We can try." But far beyond the stars, a cold signal traveled across the galaxies. In a dark control room, machines blinked and HUMMED. A voice spoke. "Starboard signal confirmed. Begin preparation. Phase 2 begins." The light they couldn't kill stars above Hollow Bend looked peaceful, but across those stars, something dark was coming. Back in town, whispers had turned to warnings. People spoke of Sector Command sending another force, a bigger one. They wanted KIRAN. Not for punishment, not for justice, but to use him. To control the old knowledge inside him, to turn his light into a weapon. Inside Colt's farmhouse, Saya packed a small bag again. Colt stood near the door, watching. "You're planning to leave," he said quietly. Saya nodded. "If I go far enough, maybe they'll stop searching. Maybe Kieran can live free." Colt shook his head. "No, you don't hide from darkness. You teach it to fear the light." Nolly hugged her brother tightly. "I won't let them take you," she whispered. Kiran placed a small glowing hand on her cheek. "It's okay. I'm not afraid." That night, a strange sound echoed across the fields. Not ships. Not soldiers, but voices. People from the town. Dozens of them. They gathered at the gate, men, women, even children. One of the men, who had once shouted at Saya, now stepped forward. "We came to help," he said. Marla stood beside him, holding a heavy wrench. "Nobody's taking that boy without a fight." Colt smiled. "Took you long enough." From the hills, 3 black ships appeared. Agent Rel returned. This time, he had 12 soldiers with him, stronger armor, bigger guns, and a new machine, a memory extractor glowing cold and sharp, like a spider. He stepped forward, calm as ever. "Hand over the child," he said. "You have no legal right to harbor a threat to the galaxy." Colt raised his rifle. "He's not a threat. He's a child with power," Rel replied. "Power that doesn't belong to you." Then Kieran stepped forward. "I don't belong to anyone," Rel laughed. "You belong to the stars, boy, and Sector Command owns the stars." Kieran raised one glowing hand. "No," he whispered. "The stars belong to all of us." A wave of golden light burst from his palm. Not like before. This was stronger, wider. The soldiers' weapons melted. Their armor cracked. The memory extractor crumbled into ashes. Even the ships behind them powered down. The soldiers fell to their knees, not hurt, but overwhelmed, as if the light was showing them every memory they buried, every lie they believed. And Agent Rel, he didn't fall. He just stood there, staring at the boy, and then he dropped his badge. He turned. And walked away, without a word. Silence fell over the field. Then cheers. The people ran to Kieran, lifting him into the air. He laughed, light still dancing on his skin. Saya covered her mouth. Tears ran down her cheeks. "He's more than I ever dreamed," she whispered. Colt placed a hand on her shoulder. "He's what your people were waiting for." She nodded. "No, he's what all people were waiting for." Weeks passed. The government didn't come again, not after the footage spread across space. Videos of Kieran's light, of the soldiers laying down their arms. Of people standing together, human, and Carey protecting what was right. The galaxy watched. And began to change. The farm turned into something new, a school, a place where children of all kinds, alien, human, and hybrids came to learn the old ways and the new. Kieran was the first teacher. Nolly helped run the gardens. Cole built the dorms, and Saya, she told the stories of fire and snow. Of pain and hope, of how one desperate mother gave her last breath to save her children, and how that breath became light. Some said it was a miracle. Some said it was just evolution. But those who were there, they knew the truth. It was love.